Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, no matter what time you're tuning into this video. We hope you're doing good. This is day 14 of the VIP section, the VIP challenge, and we're just getting started. Tons of great things down the pipeline. Of course, you got the one and only yours truly, Mr.
and Mrs.
Smith, your instructors for this challenge. Let's go.
All right, guys. So day 14, definitely pat yourself on the back if you've been following along, if you've been staying consistent. We are almost halfway through the 30 days. So guys, if we're going too fast or anything for you, keep in mind that's why we're doing this in video form. That's why we have it in a group, so that you can always go back, rewind, fast forward, and just catch up, okay? So let's go ahead and recap what we've been doing so far, right? Because 14 days, jam-packed, full of knowledge. You learn the 5 different factors contributing to your credit score, okay? You learn more in-depth details of all 5 of those. On top of that, you have access now to all of the dispute letters. You should have actually already pulled your credit report, labeled your debts in the order in which you're going to dispute, and already started the dispute process. You should have already mailed off some letters. I actually got a text the other day, I want to say it was last week, saying, hey, I'm excited, I'm mailing off all of my letters, right? On top of that, you're learning more about MyEcon, why it's important for you to keep that $34.95 monthly membership going, okay? It's because it's jam-packed with so many tools. It's so much more than just credit. You've learned about the W-4. Hopefully you've already put in your numbers and you've corrected your W-4 so that you can start increasing that cash flow. We talked about debt elimination, where you can start paying off things, and not only pay off things, but get your debt freedom year. See, a lot of people have debt. A lot of people don't have a game plan to get out of it, and they don't know when, down to the month, they would be debt free. So those are some things that you now have access to, and it's getting even better, okay? This is what I want you to think about. What we're going to go over today is one of your biggest expenses, okay? I want you to think about that. If you're watching this video, I want you to type it in the comments. What is your biggest expense today, all right? For most Americans. And I know what you're thinking, but it's not that, all right? And we're going to get into that in just a second. Anything else that I missed on the recap?
No, that's good. Yesterday we went over the debt elimination, showed you the tool, the game plan, and how simple it is so you can have a roadmap. But think about that big expense, and I guarantee you it's not what you're thinking. Now, if you've been rocking with us for some time now, you can't answer. You're not allowed to answer. But if you're new to this whole challenge experience, then you can answer. What is your number one expense? What will you pay more dollar-wise than just about anything? More than your car, more than your home, pretty much anything, college, all of that. And the answer is taxes.
Yes, so you guys, this screen should look very familiar. We're logged into the MyEcon website. MyEcon is short for My Economy. And we are the personal financial success company, guys. We want you all to win. If you haven't noticed by now, we want everybody to win. We want you to get your credit up. We want you to get your debt down. We want you to get your cash flow up. We want you to get your investments up, all right? That's what we want for everybody. So let's get into it. Your number one expense is taxes.
Yep. So if you've been rocking with us this long, then obviously you know that we can deliver, we can really empower you, we can put you in a position to where you grow your knowledge and you have some things that you can apply. Some of the things may be things you're familiar with, some of these things may be brand new, but at least you got a system, a game plan, and some coaches who can guide you along the way in the sense that you need certain things. Now, let's talk about taxes and what you have access to. For starters, I'll just click on the tax record keeping. This is an area that you can click on, you know, and it's a mobile version as well as a PC version. You can download the app, the Cash Flow Manager. It's more than just record keeping, but for the sake of this video, because I know we got some more stuff up the pipeline on the days to come, we'll just talk about it from a tracking, a record keeping perspective. And if you click on it, you'll see that it has a video for you to watch and just elaborates on how the cash flow manager can benefit you in your record keeping journey and process. You may already have some type of record keeping software. If so, great. If not, then you have another one that you automatically get access to at no additional cost called the Cash Flow Manager. This video pretty much is self-explanatory, so you watch that at your convenience. But what I really want to go over is the taxes, the education that comes along with it, and where we get this information from. You see, we're not just pulling stuff out of our hat. We're not just pulling things out of nowhere. We go directly to the source, and that source just so happens to be the IRS website. So what you're looking at is a PDF as it pertains to the IRS, and these are the common tax deductions.
Now these, you guys, came off of your website, okay? So we don't want to confuse anybody.
Let me show you how I got there.
Yes.
Let me show you how I got there. All I did from the BMC Home was, alright, BMC Home, you can go to Document Center. Once you click on Document Center, you can click on Presentation Support Material. And right there at the top, you see the Common Tax Deduction Info Packet. I clicked on it, it made me download it. So I already had it downloaded and pulled up. So thank you for catching that, because I definitely want them to know you have access to this. We're not, you have pulling out all of these tools and documents and you can't access them. So let me see, this is a first time for me using this particular PDF reader. But let me see if I can get it full screen and then see what the zoom in process is on it.
Hey, you guys, while we're figuring out the software here, I just want to add again, everything that we're about to teach you as it pertains to lowering your taxes, as it pertains to tax deductions, this comes from the IRS website, okay? If you're unfamiliar with the IRS website, it is just irs.gov. See, a lot of the times we think that the IRS is the bad guys, okay? And we pointed that out once before. But actually the IRS, they're really helpful and they're really informative, and all of the information is out there. You just have to read it. They really do want us to be set up for greatness. They just want to make sure that we're doing it the right way. So in order for you to do anything, you have to make sure you're following the right instructions, okay? That you're following the roadmap, okay? So again, this comes from irs.gov, and this is called the Common Tax Deductions Package.
Absolutely. My Econ really extracted some things and just simplified it. I want to read this section just for, so you can understand what you have. This information is an introduction to potential tax deductions for business owners, keyword business owners, and I'll elaborate on that before I dive deep into the packet. Responsibilities come with the deductions. My Econ has a detailed system to teach record-keeping requirements and to help associates understand how these tax deductions can put money into their pockets each and every year. Every business owner needs this information and training. Now, tax deductions. Let's talk about it for a second just before we dive into showing you what they look like, what those common tax deductions are. Why is it important for you to even understand it or tap into the ability to have tax deductions? Well, like we said, if taxes is your number one expense, meaning that you pay more in taxes than you will on your mortgage, more in taxes than you will on your auto loan, more in taxes than you will on college, then it's very important and just seems like it only makes sense that you would want to figure out a way to minimize them. Figure out a way to lower them to the best of your ability. So with that being said, we want to give you one way that you can go about lowering your taxes. You see, you pay taxes on everything that you buy. When you spend money, it's always a tax attached to it. When you go out to eat, it's always a tax attached to it. No matter what it is, it's always some form of a tax, and it comes all the time. You never pay taxes off. However, in one area, when it relates to your income and some of the money that you spend, we want you to understand that you can legally lower your taxes to the bare minimum. So when you think about people, and I'm gonna just use this person because many people reference this quite often. When you think about Donald Trump, Mr. Trump, when you think about Trump, a lot of people talk about how he paid little to no taxes or paid zero in taxes. Truth be told, he's not doing anything illegal. He's just using the tax laws because he understood them early enough that if you do certain things and position yourself in a certain way, have businesses and other things that allow you to pay less in taxes, then it only makes sense to do so. So that's all he's tapping into. And in this case, we want to talk to you from a business standpoint. Like we said, these tax deductions are potential tax deductions for business owners. You see, it's one thing for you to have a job, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a sweet spot if you can have a job and a business.
Yes.
You see, when you have both, now you're making money from the job that you're accustomed to, but now you get to tap into what many people moved to America for in the first place, which is to benefit from the tax law. You see, the tax law was created to get you wealthy, not keep you bound. So really understand what you have. And if you do not have a business, if you are not self-employed, we just put you in position to do that by you being a part of MyEcon. You maintaining your membership gives you access to the ability to earn income and be a business owner if you operate it appropriately. It's a certain way you have to do it. If you operate it appropriately, then you qualify for business deductions, which brings you thousands every year, each year.
Yes, and you said something really key, so I just wanted to reiterate. Look, guys, a lot of times when we talk about business ownership, people shy away from it and they say, I love my job. I don't want to be fully self-employed. Having a business isn't for everyone. But I think that what people really have to understand is that you can do both. You can have a job and you can have a business. You can have both of them. You can have multiple streams, you guys, and guess what? You will still qualify for all of the perks. As it pertains to your business, you will be considered self-employed. You can do both, okay?
Absolutely. So, with that being said, let's dive in a little deeper. Like she said, you can do both, and we just want to show you what you have access to. And this literally easily brings in thousands back into your pockets every year, each year. And now, when you're saving yourself thousands in taxes, guess what can be done with that tax saving? It can be used to pay off debt, which is why you are part of the challenge in the first place. Most of the time, you have some form of debt that you want to eliminate. Imagine saving $5,000 in taxes, or $6,000, or $10,000 in taxes each year, and putting it directly towards the debt. Imagine taking that tax savings and placing it in an area that it can grow in the form of investments, which we'll dive into a little later in the challenge. Just imagine for a second what they can do for you and how fast you can accomplish your goals. You see, when the rich get richer, it's not because they just did the same thing everybody else was doing. They tapped into what was available to them in an area that most people won't tend to read it, and that's usually in a book or in some type of documentation that is that seems confusing, and the IRS website is one of those areas. So we want to talk about the W-4. It's a ton of knowledge loaded on their first page that I almost went into. I want to get directly into those common tax deductions that we talked about. So as you can see, some of the common tax deductions. Now, I want to point out there are over 400 tax deductions that you can qualify for as a business owner. We're just going to give you a few that can save you thousands per year. Number 1, car and truck expenses. Number 2, travel. 3, communication. 4, interest, which is interest that you pay on certain things. 5, wages. And 6, depreciation. So let's dive into a few of those just so you can understand what you truly can do by being a business owner, what you truly have access to by being a part of our system. And if you decide that you want to take MyEcon and run with it, if you decide you want to expose people to the credit challenge, what you can truly do as it relates to these areas. Now, on here they're talking about transportation and when it's deductible. Some of this is also dealing with commuting outside of your home or to your job if you do it a certain way. So it's really key that you understand those things and how to go about doing it. And sometimes even entertainment can be deducted in those areas. So what they're saying about the transportation aspect is that many times when you're traveling, if you're doing business, expenses between your home and your main or regular place of work might not be deductible, but when you travel to other areas, those things can be deductible when you're doing business. And I want to dive into this section. Where is it at? All right, right here. Transportation expenses don't include expenses you have while traveling away from home overnight. Those expenses are travel expenses. and I did a big training on travel expenses. Like if you're traveling somewhere overnight, it's travel expenses, but transportation is basically your local commuting. However, now when you see the word however in the IRS publication, it usually means that it's a good thing. It usually means that it's some loopholes, it's some leeway that you can tap into and benefit. However, if you use your car while traveling away from home overnight, use the rules in this chapter to figure out car expense deductions. So it's things that you are doing anyway that can be written off and made tax deductible. So if you're using your car, the same car that you were going to use anyway, and you're using it to do business, whether you're traveling locally or outside, then those things become tax deductible. So I want you to wrap your mind around the word anyway, because some of the things I'm going to throw out are things you're going to do anyway. It's just a matter of how you go about doing those things and if they will be tax deductible or not.
Yes, and you guys, if you really look at this chart, I think this chart is heavy. Like, look at the arrow that points from home to the regular or main job. And above that arrow, it says that that is never deductible. Okay, from your home to your temporary work location, it says deductible if you have a regular or main job at another location. From your temporary work location to your second job, it shows always deductible. Okay, from your second job back home, never deductible. So it's really giving you the game if you just look at those arrows, and then right underneath the chart, everything that's in bold, it just goes deeper into detail on what can and what cannot be written off on your taxes. This particular chart is just dealing with 2 jobs. So think about it with business.
Good, good, good. And that's good that you pointed that out, just so I don't leave anything up to assumptions. Yes. And then sometimes entertainment can be deductible. We won't talk too much about that because there's been some recent changes. And gifts, you know, sometimes you can write off certain gifts up to $25. You can deduct more than $25 for business gifts you give directly or indirectly to each person during your tax year. But in most cases, it's up to $25 even when it relates to gifts. So think about certain things that you might already be spending money on in the form of gifts if you can make those things tax deductible. Let's talk about transportation a little bit more. This chapter discusses, and as you can see at the bottom of all of these, it has a publication, and it changes a little bit per year, but all of these are publications that come directly from the IRS. Now, it says these expenses. Okay, this chapter discusses expenses that you can deduct for business transportation when you aren't traveling away from home as defined in Chapter 1. So most of the time you're doing things and you're commuting and not necessarily going away from what they call your tax home. And how you're able to deduct them is because certain business expenses are allowed. These expenses include the cost of transportation by air, rail, bus, taxi, etc. This includes if you ride in an Uber from wherever you're going, if you're using public transportation, or if you're using your own vehicle. Transportation expenses include the ordinary and necessary costs of all of the following: getting from one workplace to another in the course of your business or profession when you're traveling within the city or general area that is your tax home, visiting clients or customers, going to a business meeting away from your regular workplace. You see, all of these things are things that can be written out. So the question is it possible that some of the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis can be converted into business deductions? Is it possible that if you go to a certain location or go to see a friend or a family member, that you can incorporate some business and make that trip from wherever you just left to that destination tax deductible? So it's the right way to go about it, but we just want you to let you know that it exists, for one, because you're going to be driving your vehicle in most cases anyway, or paying for some form of public transportation anyway. So if it's an expense that you're going to endure anyway, why not figure out how to make that expense tax deductible? Now, that's dealing with transportation and traveling, and I want to find a part where they talk about the mileage, because I see the expenses. It's a section dealing with the mileage that on here it lists one price point, but right now, if you are writing off your mileage, you can get up to 58 at the time of this recording, which is 2019, up to 58 cents per mile. On this document, I believe it was like up to 53%. All right, there we are right here. Standard mileage rate. You may be able to use the standard mileage rate to figure the deductible cost of operating your car for business purposes. For 2017, this is a 2017 document, and currently it's 2019, and this number is higher. The standard mileage rate for the cost of operating your car for business use is 53.5 cents a mile. So every 2 miles you drive, you're able to write off 58 cents per mile. That adds up. So if most people drive 12,000 miles per year, imagine being able to write off $6,000 in deductions because of you driving your car to do business. That's a big one.
Yes, and you guys, for the person that's really just not understanding deductions, because I know for me, it really took a while for it to make sense. Let me explain to you what a tax deduction is, what we're talking about here. See, there are things that you are going to be spending money on anyway, and that's the word that I want you to keep in your head. You're going to drive your car anyway. You're going to travel anyway, okay? You're going to eat. Everybody on here eat, I think, anyway. So look, the things that you're already spending money on, if you're in business, okay, and we are positioning you with being a part of my econ and being a part of this challenge to be in business. You can make money from being in business with my econ, okay? You can qualify for writing these expenses off on your taxes during the tax season, and it lowers your tax liability. So it lowers the amount that you will owe in taxes. For a lot of people, it can get their taxes extremely low. For some people, like our President Donald Trump, he pays $0 in taxes, and there's a lot of other examples. But if you just keep in mind, you're doing these things anyway. This is a perk of becoming a business owner. So I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely, and this is what you got to understand. Everything is all about strategy with us. When we were talking about the credit, it was all about strategically boosting your credit. When we're talking about your cash flow and you keeping more of your hard-earned dollar, it's all about being strategic with your finances. So if taxes is your biggest bill, it only makes sense for you to develop some form of a strategy. You see, this is what you got to understand. Everybody in the world has a strategy to try to get your money when they're advertising to you, when they're trying to, get you to buy into something that you don't necessarily need, that won't necessarily benefit you. That's their strategy to get your money. But do you have a strategy to keep your money? Nothing supersedes the strategy to keep your money like having a business as well as investing, which we'll get into. So we talked about the standard mileage rate. I saw this, so I decided I want to go ahead and just kind of briefly talk about this. If you have an office in your home or you establish an office in your home, then your home that qualifies as a principal place of business, you can deduct your daily transportation costs between your home and another work location in the same trade or business. Business uses of your home for information on determining if your home office qualifies for a principal place of business. All of these revert back to a publication, but it's a good chance that some of the things you're spending money on anyway, as it pertains to your home, can be written off. And this, we talked about mileage, but in addition to mileage, sometimes people may prefer, depending on how much they spend on their car, to take actual car expenses. We personally get a bigger benefit from mileage, so that's what we use instead of car expenses. But the other option is actual car expenses. So you see things like depreciation, license, gas, oil, tolls, lease payments, insurance, garage rent, parking fees, registration fees, repairs, tires. If that supersedes the dollar amount that you can possibly get from business miles, then use that. But most people, if they drive a decent amount, mileage is a greater benefit. But we just want to let you know that it exists on the grand scheme of things. We're not here to educate you on taxes all in this video, but on the grand scheme of things, just understand what exists. Travel expenses. I mean, when you make your travel tax deductible, now you're doing things that you would have done anyway, or going to places that you would have done anyway. But the fact that you incorporate some business, and we show you it's the right way to go about doing it. You don't just go travel and just write it off just for the sake of writing it off. No, you want to go about it a certain way. Have some things in place that will allow that travel to be tax deductible. Meals, as it relates to your travel, like you said, most people eat. Of course you're going to eat, but now let's make some of those meals that you're spending money on tax deductible when done appropriately. Interest, and it's one part on here that kind of, stood out on the interest side. If I can find it, I should have highlighted certain things on this, but it basically said if you work a job, and I'm paraphrasing, if you work a job, you can't write off any interest pertaining to some of the interest that you may pay. But by having a business, you're able to do so. So all it basically lets you know is this. It's certain things that you cannot write off if you don't have a business, that people who have a business or are self-employed or have a business alongside their job, they're able to write off due to the fact that they have a business. I wish I could find that exact spot, but it says that pretty much, verbatim, because it's perks to having a business, for lack of better words. Now, you have something you want to add before I dive into the employees pay?
No, go ahead.
Now, with having a business, you can also have employees. You can also hire people to contribute to your business. A lot of the areas that we like to focus on as it relates to having employees for a person who has a small business or a home-based business is hiring your child or hiring your spouse. Yes, you can hire them into your business and you get business deductions just by hiring them. And of course, it has to be set up a certain way. But think about it this way. If you hire your child to do a service, say they're keeping a record, say they're keeping up the business vehicle, say they're keeping up the home office or doing some marketing for you, whatever it is that they're doing. And let's just say you pay them for their services and it's $500 and they take that $500 and they put it towards school clothes or meals that they're buying or things that their activities that they're involved in or sports that they're involved in. You were going to spend that money on them anyway. The problem is you wouldn't have been able to write it off if you were just paying for the sporting activity or just paying for the school supplies. But if you pay them the wage, what you do, you're able to write off the wage that you paid them. It's tax deductible if they are an employee of your business. So now they take the same money that you would have used to pay for the activity and they buy it themselves with the money that you gave them. So this is money that you were going to spend anyway. You just took a strategy to buffer it through paying them a wage, write the wage off, they spend it on whatever they feel, and now that money just became tax deductible because you hired them as an employee. So the tax laws are powerful, and a lot of wealthy people have been using this for a while, but just understand what's available to you as it relates to these tax laws.
Yeah, and I just wanted to read that.
Okay.
It says you can generally deduct the amount you pay your employees for the services they perform. The pay may be in cash, property, or services. It may include wages, salaries, bonuses, commissions, or other non-cash compensation such as vacation allowances and fringe benefits. And then it refers you to where you can go and read more about that. You guys, so that I just wanted to point out because you can pay your employees, whether those employees are family members of yours, your spouse, which we're going to get into that. It doesn't even have to only solely be cash, okay? So let's keep going.
Absolutely. And ask yourself, can I really pay my kids? How can I really pay my kids? Well,
yes.
Glad you asked. Family employees, child employed by parents. So we talked about just paying, employees in general, but here's the documentation that beats the conversation. Payments for the services of a child under the age 18 who works for his or her parent in a trade or business aren't subject to Social Security and Medicare taxes. Somebody recently asked me about that. They was like, so what about, when I pay my kid, or do I have to, contribute to the Social Security, pay the Medicare? Because if I got to do all that, I don't know if I really want to do it. I didn't think it was worth it. I could tell you it would still be worth it, but here's the writing in the sand. Here's the documentation that backs it up. You don't even have to worry about the Social Security or the Medicare taxes. You're not subject to it. If the trade or business is a sole proprietorship or a partnership in which each partner is a parent of the child. If these payments are for work other than in the trade or business, such as domestic work in the parent's private home, they're not subject to Social Security and Medicare taxes until the child reaches age 21. So it's a lot of room and a lot of years. And under the age of 21, you spend a lot of money on your children. Why not make it tax deductible?
Yes, and then I want to go over to the left in bold. It says business owned and operated by spouses. Houseway, you're talking to spouses right now. If you and your spouse jointly own and operate a business and share in the profits and losses, you may be partners in a partnership whether or not you have a formal partnership agreement. And it sends you to a publication. It says the partnership is considered the employer of any employees and is liable for any employment taxes due on wages paid to its employees, okay? And then there's something else showing the exception, so let's keep it rolling.
And really, you know, it's just a matter of understanding what exists. We just kind of wanted to expose you to certain things and just get you to understand that if you solely work a job, it's a lot of money you're leaving on the table.
Yes.
It's a lot of money you're leaving on the table. And that money can go towards getting out of debt sooner. Some of the things we told you about that can help you get out of debt a lot faster includes you earning some additional income. Well, it's perks to having additional income that you earn through business, because now you also get tax deductions. So it's a win-win. You might have made $5,000 that year on the side of your business, but you might have got $5,000 in tax deductions. So it really puts you in a position to where you won $10,000, $5,000 from tax deductions, $5,000 from business income. So really understand what could you be doing to contribute to hitting your goals a lot sooner. And you cannot exclude the idea of benefiting from the tax law, because it's your biggest expense. Being that it's your biggest expense, you want to find a way to benefit from minimizing those taxes in a big way. And I promise you, that's what we're here to expose you to. So you getting access to this VIP session is way more than just your credit. Credit is great, and credit can be fixed and you'll be good to go and on your merry way. But if you really want to stick and stay and understand what you have access to in the form of building wealth, then I strongly encourage you to make this a lifetime decision. Partner up with us for a long-term perspective, because it's a lot more to money that cannot be taught and learned in a short amount of time. It takes a lifetime commitment, and then you look up and you develop wealth built on knowledge, all because you decided to take on a credit challenge.
Yes, guys. So it all goes hand in hand at the end of the day. I know that was a lot. So your homework assignment is to pull that document, read it, highlight it if you need to, take some notes. You know, I always recommend you having a little notebook, so hopefully you took me up on that during the 5-day challenge. And what you have to understand is lowering your taxes, okay, is automatically going to increase your cash flow. What can you do with that additional cash flow? Well, you can use that to become debt-free. You can use that to get your utilization down. You can use that to establish an emergency fund. You can use that to start preparing for your future, putting your money into investments, preparing your kids, setting them up to have a bright future, okay, by putting them some money aside. So you got to understand, more cash flow can always change the conversation. You just got to know what to do with it, all right? That's all we got, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So understand what you have, and also just understand that we have another challenge coming up. We'll always have one coming up, so I won't even throw the date out just because I don't know when you're watching this video. But one way to share what it is that you're learning, one way to share your business that you now have access to, is by inviting people to the 5-day credit challenge that you participated in.
Yes.
And guess what? You can earn some side income, and now you put yourself on track to benefiting from the tax laws. So yes, that's all we got. That's all we got. Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
signing out.